Good morning. Well, I think you would agree with me that in the world we live in today, anxiety is a national epidemic. The World Health Organization says that 300 million people worldwide are diagnosed in some way or another with anxiety disorders. It is the number one mental health disorder worldwide. In the US, the statistics are even worse. 19% of all adults 18 and over have some kind of anxiety disorder. And teenagers, 13 to 18, are even worse. Almost 1 in 3 of every teenager has some kind of an anxiety disorder. We see it all the time. We see depression. We see despair. We see suicides taking place. We see drugs. The streets of our cities across this nation are filled with people who succumbed to anxiety, to fear, to worry. We worry all the time. We worry about climate change. We worry about the presidential election. We worry that Biden will get reelected. We worry that if he doesn't, Trump will be president. We worry that there aren't any other choices besides the two of them. We worry that our career isn't going to progress and we're not going to be able to feed our family. We worry that we're going to be in a situation where we might lose our home. We worry about cancer. We worry about a million different things. We worry. And so I was looking at antidotes to worry. Certainly there are scriptures about it, but I came across a couple of quotes from Corrie ten Boom. Now you may know that name. Corrie ten Boom was made famous in the book The Hiding Place, which she authored, which later became a movie. It detailed the story of her family in Holland. When the Nazis took over in Holland, her family hid Jews in a secret room inside of their house. It was called The Hiding Place. And they got away with it for a couple of years, but ultimately were turned in by neighbors, were caught, were sentenced to go to various concentration camps. The family was split up, and only Corrie and her sister ended up in the same concentration camp in Ravensbrück. Initially, Corrie was bitter. She was disillusioned, but her sister's faith was tremendously strong. She had smuggled a Bible in to the concentration camp, and every evening she would ensure that the ladies in this area that they were assigned to had a Bible study, that they prayed, that they relied on God for their strength and their courage. Corrie's sister was in very poor health, and she ultimately died in the concentration camp. Just a couple of days before her death, she said this to Corrie: "There is no pit so deep that God is not deeper still." Corrie came to a realization that she wasn't in control, that there was nothing she could do, that she could only surrender her will, her concerns, her worries to God. And so she became a prolific Christian author, Christian speaker until her death in 1983. But she said a lot about worry. A couple of her quotes were these: "Worry does not empty tomorrow of its sorrow. It empties today of its strength." In another place, she said, "Worry is a cycle of inefficient thoughts whirling around a center of fear." Well, it's not surprising that the Bible has a lot of things to say about worry as well. Paul, who had a lot to worry about, who was kicked out of town, who was beaten, who was stoned, who was thrown in prison a number of times, who was shipwrecked, said this: "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." Yes, there is an antidote to anxiety. It's not found in drugs. It's not found in alcohol. It's not found in prescriptions from a doctor. It is found in surrendering to God. giving up your cares and your anxieties to Him and trusting Him to give you peace in your life. Peter, another man who had a lot to worry about, who was ultimately crucified for his faith, said this, "Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, so that at the proper time He may exalt you, casting all your anxieties on Him, because He cares for you." This week, I'm sure each of you are worrying about something or someone near and dear to you. But remember, God is in control. God is the one who will take care of your cares, your anxieties, and reward you with peace. May this be a week of peace for you. Have a good week.